Bienvenidos a Español 2. Me llamo Señor Poe. Lo siento que no estoy con ustedes. I know this looks a little different from what you're accustomed to, but I'm out on maternity leave, and I will be back in October. Until then, Mr. Gower is going to be substituting, and he will be completely in charge, and I expect you to treat him just like you would myself or any other teacher. Quick introduction of myself. I graduated here from Union Grove High School. I then went to the University of Georgia, where I majored in Spanish and minored in English as a second language. I also have my master's degree from Georgia College and State University in secondary Spanish education. I've been teaching, this is my 5th year. The last 4 years have been at Mary Persons High School in Forsyth. So now I'm back home as a Wolverine again. I know a lot of you are familiar with Mr. Gower. He has been here at Union Grove many times, so I expect you to give him the utmost respect. As you came in today, you should have picked up a few things. A course syllabus, an All About Me sheet, a calendar, there you go, las secciones del cuaderno to show you how your notebook should be set up, and lastly, a note card. Before we review the syllabus, I want you to take a minute or two to fill this note card out exactly how you see on the board. As you do that, a pink box will be passed around for you to file your note card. It should be filed alphabetically by your last name. Please put it behind the tab of your last name. For example, if I was filling mine out, when the box got to me, I would flip to the P tab, place my card in. Don't worry about alphabetizing them within the letter. As long as they're behind the correct letter, that will be great. While you fill out your card, I'm going to give you just a quick overview of this course. We'll talk more tomorrow about how this is all going to work with me not being here. Once you finish filling out your note card, please place your pen or pencil under your desk until I tell you to start filling out other information. It's really important that you pay close attention, especially since I'm not there to answer questions right now. So an overview of Spanish 2. I use the same method of teaching that you're accustomed to from last year, total physical response and storytelling. It'll be very familiar to you, although again it may look a little different since you're going to be seeing me on the TV versus in person. In the school I was at before, I had students who had been taught in a more traditional sense using a textbook and a workbook, and students who experienced total physical response and storytelling. Without a doubt, every single student said that the TPRS method was way easier to learn with. They were much more successful, so I want you to appreciate the method of teaching. I know sometimes you feel silly doing all these motions and singing these songs and telling these stories, but it's extremely, extremely effective, and I know that because I learned myself from Union Grove in that same method. It is imperative that you participate. It is imperative that when I do motions and ask you to repeat and do silly things, you do the same thing. So in Spanish 2, in terms of how it's different from Spanish 1, we're going to learn a lot more vocabulary. We're going to learn more verb tenses so that you can communicate what you did yesterday, what you will do tomorrow. And we're also going to learn more about the Spanish culture. And you're going to be expected to know everything that you were taught in Spanish 1, which brings me to my next topic, my class website. On my Union Grove class webpage, you'll find a link to a Google site. It's also printed on the back of your syllabus, so you can find it there. It's under contact information. It is crucial that you check this website regularly. There will be announcements posted, an updated calendar, dates of upcoming quizzes, tests, projects, etc. And Also important resources for both now and in Spanish 1. There's a tab on my website called Spanish 1 Goodies, and there you can find all of your vocabulary lists from Spanish 1. Those are expected to be in your notebook in your vocabulary section of your Spanish 2 notebook. If you, 1, do not have those, or 2, would just like to print them out so they're neater and more organized, you can find them all there, and they're listed by name. You absolutely must have those. You will be expected to know those words and be able to use all of them. Now, you should all be finished filling out your note card. The pink box should be being passed around. We're going to look at the syllabus together. I know I'm well aware that all of you can read, but this information is really, really important. I know this first day of school gets redundant because you're hearing this kind of stuff all day long, but we're going to get through it as quickly as possible and make sure that we hit on the important things. Let's start with materials. We kind of did a little brief description of the course already. You will not be issued a textbook in this class. Your notebook serves as your textbook. It is imperative that you have an individual, organized notebook for my class. As you can see, it needs to be at least 1.5 inches. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit when we get to La Secciones del Cuaderno on another handout. You also need lined paper and plenty of it. You need 6 dividers, and we'll talk about how those need to be labeled. And you need a writing utensil. It is always expected that you come into class completely prepared with paper and with pens and pencils. So please do not come in and ask for that every day. All of these 4 things are non-negotiable. If there's any reason why you cannot have these in class, please let me know or let Mr. Gower know, and we'll make sure to make arrangements. Now let's take a few minutes to talk about my rules and my expectations and discipline procedures. Hopefully we'll never have to get there. Okay, so as you can see under classroom rules and discipline procedures, my number 1 rule: show respect and honesty at all times. I cannot tell you how important respect is to me. I expect you to be respectful of each other, of Mr. Gower, of me, of my classroom, of everything. I have 0 tolerance for disrespect whatsoever. That includes making fun of someone in this class, making fun of someone in another class, being rude to a teacher, being rude to another teacher while you're in my class. I absolutely will not tolerate it. I expect you to be respectful. If you can maintain respect in this class, we will get along just fine and we'll have a great year. I also expect you, as you see in number 2, to try your very best at all you do. I can only help you as much as you'll help yourself. I'm here for you as a resource to learn and to help you understand Spanish better, but I cannot do anything with you if you're not giving me all you have. So I expect you to try your best at everything. I also expect you to be punctual or on time to class and in turning in work. I do not accept late work, period. No excuses. When the bell rings, class has started. The bell is not a time for you to wander around and find your seat. That means you're starting on your para empezar. You cannot be tardy. I expect you to listen to directions the first time they are given. I cannot stand to be a broken record, and I know Mr. Gower does not appreciate that either. In terms of me giving directions when I'm out, you're only going to get one opportunity to hear them, so you have got to listen the first time. Lastly, no cell phones, period. As far as texting is concerned, let me just go ahead and tell you, I invented texting in my pocket, texting in my notebook, texting under my leg, texting in my purse. Don't try it. I know all the tricks, I promise. Do not try it. It is extremely disrespectful, and as I already made clear, We don't have time for disrespect in this classroom. So no cell phones, period. The consequences for breaking rules, which as I said, we shouldn't have to go there, but just know that I follow the Union Grove policy in the handbook. As far as positive behavior is concerned, which I love to talk about because we should have lots of that, you'll get features, which I know you're familiar with from last year. We'll talk more about those tomorrow when you get your feature sheet. Verbal praise, which kind of sounds like a dog, but what I mean by that is just a verbal acknowledgement of doing something well, or a positive phone call home. I love to call home and tell your parents how well you're doing in my class. I don't want the first time your parents hear from me, the first time that your parents hear from me to be in regards to something negative. So make sure that every time I call home, it's for a good reason. Now, for classroom procedures, I will go ahead and tell you right now, as you can see on the board, there will be a procedures quiz this Friday. It is imperative that everyone knows and understands and can follow my class procedures so that we can learn as much as possible and we can have a great year together. Let's start with hall passes. We're going to talk a lot more about this tomorrow. All you need to know right now is you get 4. 4 for the entire semester. They are for absolute dire emergencies only. You cannot learn if you're not sitting in my class. So I expect you to be in here all the time. For each hall pass you do not use, you get 5 points towards your formal assessment average, which is 45% of your grade, as you can see on the back of your syllabus. Do not leave, period. Next policy is the makeup policy. Bottom line is, it is your responsibility to make up work when you are absent. To make this easier, there will be a class recorder, and that person will be named within the first couple of weeks of school. But this person will keep up with a class notebook. It'll look just like your notebook. They'll copy the daily calendar, they'll take extra copies of notes, they'll copy the Pat and Pésar down, they'll get any other handouts that we give out in class, and everything else that you need if you're absent. If you are not here the day you return, before the bell rings, do not interrupt class for this. Go to the class recorder, ask he or she to see everything that you need from the day before, copy what you need to copy, take whatever copies they've put in the notebook for you, and if there's a reason you need to see Mr. Gower or myself, you can then do so. But the first place to go is the class recorder, and they should have everything you need. Again, make sure you do this before class starts. If you forget to take care of this before class starts, you need to wait till after the bell rings to do so. As far as making up tests and announced quizzes, which is the next policy, you will know about these in plenty of time. As you can see on the board right now, you have a quiz this Friday over procedures, as I already told you. You also have a quiz next Thursday, which will be over vocabulary we're going to learn, useful expressions for the classroom, and the present progressive tense. It's listed up there over a week in advance. If you are going to miss a quiz or a test that is announced, you must make arrangements with me or Mr. Gower beforehand. I understand that there are emergencies, but thank goodness they're pretty uncommon. So it is absolutely crucial that you make arrangements before you miss a quiz or a test. If you wake up and are sick and it's emergency kind of sick, please make sure that your parents or you email me before the quiz or test so that I'm aware that you will not be here. Also, it is expected that you are completely prepared for a quiz or a test when you walk into class. There will be no time for cramming. You will usually come straight in, put all of your belongings under your desk, take out a pen or pencil, and wait for myself or Mr. Gower to give you directions on starting the assessment. There is no time allotted for cramming before a quiz or a test. As far as cheating is concerned, I want to make this very clear right now. I take this matter very, very seriously. There's no reason for you to pop or stretch your neck or stretch your back or have a jacket in your lap or stare at your lap. There's no reason whatsoever for you to be doing these kind of things. And please know that any suspicion of you cheating is going to result in a 0. You'll be provided with a cover sheet before every single assessment, and it is expected that you cover your paper the entire time. If I or Mr. Gower see you not covering your paper, we have no choice but to assume that you're trying to help out a neighbor on the quiz or the test. So leave your cover sheet over your quiz or your test at all times, and it'll keep you safe. Bottom line, don't give me a reason to think you're cheating, because it'll result in a 0. I'm not going to ask you questions. I'm not going to ask for an explanation from you. It'll be a 0. Period. We're almost done. Thanks for hanging in there. I know this is a lot of information. Let's talk about the first 5 minutes of class. When you come in every day, you'll have a pas de pesar, or a bell work, as you already know. The expectation is that when the bell rings, you have already started on your pas de pesar. Again, as I said earlier, the bell is not a sign for you to walk around and finally get to your desk and get started. It means that you should be working on your pas de pesar. Mr. Gower and myself will set a timer every day, and when that timer goes off, time's up to do your bell work. When class starts, you should have your notebook on your desk, a pen or a pencil, and that's it. No other class materials, no purses, nothing. Okay, last procedure of the day. I wish that I could, but I cannot provide enough hand sanitizer and tissue for you for the entire year. As far as hand sanitizer is concerned, unless you have a sneeze attack, there's no reason for you to get up and use hand sanitizer while you're in my classroom. As far as tissue is concerned, if you are sick, bring your own tissue. Don't expect every teacher to provide a box of tissue for you. If you know that your nose is running, bring tissue and you can blot it at your desk. Stepping outside to blow your nose or to use hand sanitizer or whatever results in the use of a hall pass. And remember, you get 4 the entire semester. Never, ever, ever interrupt class to use tissue or hand sanitizer. If you have an emergency, that's understandable, but if you need to blow your nose, wait for an appropriate time, raise your hand, and wait to be addressed by Mr. Gower or myself. Okay, so we'll talk more about some of the classroom procedures tomorrow, but I hope this kind of gives you an idea of my expectations. I'm very, very serious about my procedures, and I have very high expectations for you to follow them. Next on the syllabus, you'll see the grading system. It should look familiar to you. I'll let you look over that on your own. My contact information is below that. Of course, you can always email me through school email, or you can call the school and leave a message for me. But I also have what I call the POPE line. The number is right there, 478-216-POPE, which is 7673. But it's a Google phone that you can call or you can text with anything related to class. So if you have a question about something we're doing in class and you need some extra help, or you need to set up tutoring, or you have a question about when something's due, or your parents need to get in touch with me, you can always use the POPE line. If you text the POPE line, make sure to always include your name first and last in the text so that I know who I'm speaking with. There will be periodically some assignments where you will have to call and leave a voicemail for me on the POPE line. And this just kind of gives you some extra time to do individual speaking practice, because sometimes it's hard to work that in class because there's so many of you. We already spoke a little bit about my website, and that's another way you can contact me. Alright, so last but absolutely not least, internet translators. I'm going to read this statement at the bottom of the syllabus twice. I'm well aware that you can read it yourself, but it is very, very important to me. Important. The use of internet translators is strictly prohibited. Students who choose to use internet translators on their work will receive a grade of 0. I will know, and there will be no questions asked. Absolutely unacceptable. One more time. Important. The use of internet translators is strictly prohibited. Students who choose to use internet translators on their work will receive a grade of 0. I will know, and there will be no questions asked. Absolutely unacceptable. Spanish 2 provides a lot more temptation to use these internet translators at home. You're going to be doing more writing, you'll be doing some out of class projects and assignments, and unfortunately, someone is going to try it, and someone always gets a 0. I don't ask you questions. This is just like cheating. I don't ask you questions. I don't ask for an explanation. I will know. I can share with you examples, if you don't believe me, about of students who have tried to use one and how obvious it is that it is not correct. The purpose of you being in this class is to learn to speak Spanish, and a translator is not going to help you one bit. So it is absolutely unacceptable. You will get a 0. I will not ask questions. That's on daily work, homework, quizzes, tests, projects, anything. If you need a dictionary, wordreference.com is a wonderful resource, and you can find that under the Useful Links tab on my webpage. It gives you in context vocabulary so that you know exactly how it should be used. Okay, cool. Enough classroom procedures and syllabus. I know this is super boring to have to watch and listen to, but it's so, so important. And remember, you have a procedures quiz this Friday. Now if you'll please turn with me to the paper that says Las Secciones del Cuaderno. Before we do anything else, if you'll grab your pen or pencil from under your desk and write your name and the class period that you have Spanish. Do not fill in the date yet. You'll fill that in when you turn this in. We'll talk about that in just a second. Because your notebook serves as your textbook in this class, I'm selfish with it. You must have a notebook that is strictly for Spanish. It cannot be shared with any other subject. The 6 dividers I mentioned earlier that you need for classroom materials should be labeled as you see at the top where it says label all sections in Spanish. They should be labeled in Spanish exactly as you see. So you should have a para empezar divider, gramática, vocabulario, cuentos y canciones, actividades, y lastly, lecturas y cultura. As you see, I think the notebook is so important that I make it a quiz grade for it to be set up correctly. And this helps you stay accountable and staying organized, and it just helps all of us get off on the right start. By next Monday at the very latest, you must bring your notebook in completely prepared for Mr. Gower to check. If you bring it early, you earn features, which we'll talk more about tomorrow, but I know that you're familiar with features. Read through the rubric with me, please. First off, you should have an individual notebook for Spanish class. It cannot be shared with any other subject. That's worth 20 points of the quiz grade. Next, your notebook must be at least 1.5 inches. It won't fit, all of the stuff for this year will not fit in a notebook smaller than that. That's worth 10 points. Next, this paper should be the first paper in your notebook when Mr. Gower opens it. The next 5 pages should be your calendar, which you received today, your standards, which you will receive tomorrow, your feature sheet, which you will receive tomorrow, your hall pass, which you will receive tomorrow, and your syllabus, which we just went over. Last on the rubric are the dividers, and they must be labeled in order, correctly, and in Spanish. The dividers are worth 10 points each. Obviously, you need paper behind each section. And if you have any questions about this notebook, please let Mr. Gower know or email me. If you have everything prepared tomorrow, besides the papers that you will receive when you come into class, you can quickly add them where they go in the correct order and politely ask Mr. Gower to check your notebook at an appropriate time. He will simply open your notebook, take your rubric out with your name and the date that you turn it in your class already filled out, quickly flip through, make sure everything is correct and in the correct order, give you a grade, and keep your rubric. It's a very, very simple way to earn a good quiz grade at the beginning of the school year. Again, you get features for bringing it in early, but it is not going to be accepted past next Monday. It is a quiz grade, and it'll be a 0 if you do not have it. As I said before, if there's any reason why you cannot have this in class by the deadline, please let me know and we can make arrangements. Now if you'll please turn to your class calendar. Every day on the board, you'll find the day's agenda, along with upcoming quizzes, assessments, or projects, reminders, and the standards and the essential question. You are to copy what's on the calendar portion of the board onto your calendar every single day, even if it's exactly like it was yesterday. As you can see on the back, and I know you're accustomed to this, after every 9 weeks, the calendar will be taken up and that will be counted as a quiz grade. Moving right along. If you'll turn with me to your All About Me paper. This is the last one for the day. I trust that you understand and can fill out all of the information that you see here. But I need you to turn to the back for me and let's talk about that. It is imperative that you take this home and have your parents read carefully the syllabus, fill out the contact information, and please have them do so neatly, and sign the syllabus acknowledgement form. There's a place for you to sign and your parents to sign. I treat this as a contract between you, your parents, and myself, and I take it very seriously. You signing this tells me that you understand and agree to abide by all of the rules and procedures in my syllabus. This paper should be signed and returned no later than Thursday. I suggest that you do it tonight and bring it back tomorrow so you don't have to worry about it anymore. I really look forward to working with all of you this year. I'm so sorry, I hate that I'm not there with you right now, but you will be seeing a lot of me in this format. Assuming that you follow all these expectations and procedures that we've just discussed, we're going to have a great year together. I promise you will have fun as long as you do your part. If you have any questions at all, please contact me in one of the ways that I've provided for you, or see Mr. Gower and he will relay the information to me. For the remainder of class, you can fill out your All About Me information sheet. Make sure you take your time on that because I really do want to get to know you and your hobbies and what you're interested in and your schedule. And you can also go ahead and fill out your class calendar because today's the first day of school, and as you see, the calendar is posted on the board. Gracias. Espero que tengan un buen primer día de escuela. Hasta mañana.